There's part 3 now of the lymphoid or lymphatic system, and we're actually looking now at the unit right here. It's just underneath the sternum in the newborn child, and it goes through a developmental cycle from birth until puberty. So it's really sort of peaking out as one approaches puberty, and then declines after puberty in the early teens, and is more or less gone by adulthood. And you have your set of T cells just the way you like them. Okay, here's the tissue itself. This is I would say, an aging tissue. It must be past puberty for this individual because they have little granulomas here where the tissue is breaking down. These are referred to as Hassel's corpuscles, and I've also tossed the word in here, granuloma. You should probably be aware of tissue that needs to break down. Usually it entraps macrophages and then cordons them off with little connective tissues. When you look at somebody whose lungs are permeated by, how shall I say, tuberculosis, little units like this, tubercles they're called, and that's basically it's the tuberculosis pathogen that's been ingested by macrophages and has cordoned itself off with connective tissue, and it's a granuloma. So that's the nature of things. This particular tissue is there for the purpose of producing the hormones that activate T cells. When T cells exit the bone marrow along with all the other cells, white blood cells and red blood cells, the T cells need to pick up the hormone from this to become activated. Okay, so then we move over here to the tonsils. There's actually a number of tonsils in the, let's take a look here. They listed for us 4 sets. We have the paired palatine tonsils between the arches, the palatoglossal and the palatopharyngeal arches in the top back of the oral cavity. We have the lingual tonsil on the back of the tongue, if you go way, way, way back on the back of the tongue. We have the pharyngeal tonsil, sometimes referred to as adenoids, made famous by the comedian Lily Tomlin. At any rate, the pharyngeal tonsils are up in the nasal pharynx. And then we have tubal tonsils, which surround the eustachian tube as it emerges at the nasal cavity. Okay, and in all of these cases, we have little crypts here. That's what they're referred to as crypts. And you can see here they're identifying them. Well, they're actually identifying the germinal centers here. Some of these are not very activated, some are highly activated. Okay, so all of these little nodules here, lymphatic nodules, are little groupings of B cells and T cells on the outside, B cells on the inside. And occasionally a macrophage cruises through and initiates the process of initiating an immune response. Okay, and again, here we are in the intestines, and these are referred to as Peyer's patches, and they're something to be found in the intestinal wall and the mucosa, particularly of the ileum. Okay, little aggregates here, and we again see in the aggregations here that there are some germinal centers, just the way you like it. And I missed a little detail here that doesn't have a picture to go with it, but we do have something called the appendix, which you could think of as an extension of the Peyer's patches beyond the small intestine to the large intestine, right there. Okay, and so that concludes then our chapter on lymphoid tissues.